Right, this is the chassis you're about to make. It's very simple to construct. You just need a bit of super glue and a flat area to work on. It's specifically designed to accept my boiler, which I'll just add and pull back. So it's designed to take the boiler on top of it, which we'll come to in a moment. So it's a runner in the fact that you can push it, but obviously because it's plastic, it's quite fragile. Very simple to construct. You can obviously paint it before construction or after construction. The boiler is designed to sit down onto the smoke box support plate here between the two lift up panels, between the two angles each end, and to drop down into the back of the chassis there, which is what I'll now add so you can see what the completed model looks like. But obviously the boiler is a separate entity in its own right, as is the chassis. This is what you're about to build now, the chassis. There's another video showing construction of the boiler. I'll just place on top. And you can see it drops down, let's pull back a bit, into the front support. And then you can slide it backwards and forwards due to tolerances in plastic until it lines up. It will drop down onto the slider rails at the back. So there you have the boiler now fitted to the chassis. Thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoy building. Right, these are the parts to make up the chassis that will support the boiler kit. It's very straightforward. Most of it's already done for you, but please be careful. Although it's a plastic, it's a polymer plastic, which is a lot like a resin when it's made, and the parts are quite fragile. So please bear that in mind. So what we've got is a chassis, one-piece chassis. Wheels, front and rear, piston assembly boxes, front part to support the smoke box, a couple of axles and a couple of con rods. It's very simple to put together. So we'll start off by assembling the front end. So we'll move the wheels out of the way and the axles and the con rods. And we start off with, you've got the basic chassis. Onto that you put the part that supports the smoke box. You'll see there's 4 pins and 4 holes, and it literally just goes on like that. But obviously we need to glue that in position. So we use super glue for this, although you could use a 2-part epoxy or an araldite. It's up to you entirely. So I'm just going to add a little bit of super glue where the pins are. And then literally drop him down on and push down firmly. And hold on to that for a couple of minutes until the glue goes off. Shouldn't take long. And then that's now secured in position. The next parts to put on are the valve chests or piston assemblies, or I don't know what you actually call them. They are handed. You'll notice that I've got a hole on that one. If I just put that down, and then if you look at this one, got a hole there and no hole. So holding them together, you'll see you've got the holes there. They want to go with the holes facing in that direction, if that makes sense. So again, take that one, roll the chassis over, and you'll see you've only got 2 lugs there sticking out, and you've got 2 round holes there. And that goes on to those lugs, as you can see. That gives it its position. So again, to glue that in, again, check before you do, you've got the hole that you can see from that side. So again, we will use some super glue. and we'll put that around the lugs, as I've done there, and then drop him onto the lugs and then just gently squeeze. Give that a few seconds to go off. Once that's glued in position, we can turn him over. Oh, got to wait a little while for the super glue to go off. So keep some pressure on it. So I'll probably wind the video on a little bit. Right, that's on there now firmly. We do the same on the other side. Do a dummy check there to make sure it fits, which it does. Again, check hole going in that direction. So we'll add the super glue again. And offer up the valve assembly. Giving it a good squeeze again. Of course, you may want to paint this before you actually fit these parts. That's entirely up to you. That one's firmly on there. Now we can move over to the wheels. Put the chassis to one side for the moment so I can explain the wheels. The axles have a square drive and a pin so that the square will drop into the back of the wheel. Maybe a bit tight, you need to wobble it a little bit. If it's too tight, just rotate it 90 degrees. So the first thing we do is to put one axle into one wheel. Now the wheels are different. We have two with a long pin and we have two with the short pins. The short pins go to the front where the valve box is. So if we start, so the axle will go in to the square. You can wobble it just a little bit and it will click in quite nicely. But before we glue it in, what we have to do is just put a little bit of glue on the end of the radius bit there. Radius bit of the round part. So just a small amount, hardly any is needed. Again, make sure you've got the wheel with the small pin. You have to do this fairly quickly because it's super glue. Again, push in and you have a slight protrusion coming out there. So then we do exactly the same, but this time we do it on one with a long end. So again, a trial check. It goes in okay. Just a little bit of glue on the end. Pick up, make sure you've got a long one this time. And push it in. Make sure it goes in firmly up against the shoulder. So we've now got two axles with a small and a large on. Now we move back to the chassis, taking the one with the short pin on, load him in, and obviously we'll rotate, but we need to get what's called the quartering right. So with the pin facing up, and then pick up the other wheel with the thin, pick up the other wheel with the small pin, and because this one is facing up, this one wants to face forward. So he's going to go on like that. So we've got one up and one forward. So we're going to do exactly the same thing as we did there to glue him in position. So holding this wheel in, pushed in from the back, make sure he's up. We put just the tiniest spot of glue on the round part or spigot, Again, make sure pin is up, pin is forward, and then push him on. And that's put that front wheel on. Now we do the rear. We've got to get this correct to line up with the front. So again, we put him in, make sure the big pin is facing up. And then we take the other one with the big pin and we've got to make sure the big pin is facing forward. So we do that. Again, add just a little bit of glue, hardly any, to the spigot. Make sure pin is facing up on this side and make sure the pin is facing forward on this side. There we go, and push on. And again, that should rotate quite nicely. So you have your chassis, which will roll quite well. We now have to fit con rods. Now these are just slipped over. It's very straightforward. Line up the pins, drop him over. Again, go careful because the pins will snap off. Just sort of help it down. And if you haven't waited for the glue to dry, the other wheel on the other side will have dropped off. So I was a bit of a rush there. So put him back on again. So as I was saying, you put the con rod on that side, and then when you turn over, you should be able to fit the con rod on this side. You do it with the little holes in the oilers facing up. And there you have, turn it that way. So it's not really meant to be a runner, but it does run quite smoothly. Right, at this point you can now fit your boiler, if you've already made it, which obviously you should have done, or of course you could just have a pure chassis in your workshop yard. Now when you come to fit the boiler, due to various tolerances in plastics, you may find that this dimension here, which slots between there and there, may be a bit tight. If it is, then you just need to rub some emery or file, doesn't matter what you use. You just need to run a file along that edge there, just to remove maybe 0.1, 0.2 of a millimeter, and do it on that side as well. That's to allow it to be a nice fit. I can demonstrate this. Go careful because it is fragile. To make it a nice fit into the smoke box. Yours may drop in nicely if it's a bit tight, and as I say, just remove some material from there and there. So that will drop into there, and then you'll see that the actual firebox will drop down on. If we turn them around, and then you can position it backwards and forwards until the actual smoke box is central to the supporting plate there. You should end up with maybe a small gap there, and it will rest on the sliding plates there. So that's it, that's complete. So you've now built your chassis. What more can I say? It's up to you how you paint it. Put it in the workshop, put it on a trailer. It's entirely up to you. Thank you for purchasing this chassis if you have, or thank you very much for watching.